Hey guys, right now I'm wrapping up my final week of my first full training cycle back in equipment, and I want to share my training, nutrition and PD breakdown. For those of you who don't know my background, I've been competing in and coaching raw powerlifting since 2013, and I've totaled mid 800s over 2 different weight classes. But in the last 5 years, after a pretty bad lower back injury, torn adductor and knee injury, I've shifted focus away from raw powerlifting, and I've been training on and off for different equipped powerlifting goals. In 2016, I was the first Australian junior to bench press 300 kilos in single ply equipment. In 2023, I totaled 1,000 kilos single ply, and last year, out of competition, I bench pressed 385 kilos in an unlimited shirt. So in January this year, I actually moved house to be closer to the gym. So now I live about 5 minutes away from the gym that I train at and coach out of, which is Breakthrough Fitness in Maryland. And I've done my best to eliminate as many distractions as possible. So right now, I don't really have any excuse to not put effort and time into my own training and into my coaching business, both in terms of working with my clients, but also in terms of trying to build my coaching business. Since the start of this year, I've done everything that I could to reduce distractions as best as possible. So that meant moving closer to the gym that I train at and coach out of, which is Breakthrough Fitness in Maryland. And I've done the best to streamline my coaching business as best as possible. And at the moment, I've set myself 3 goals and 3 years to achieve them. The first 2 in the unlimited shirts that I've been using lately. I want to bench press 900 pounds and I want to bench press 1,000 pounds. As well as in single ply poly gear, I want to bench press 800 pounds to match the all-time best poly bench press in Australia, held by the legend himself, Sean Bostock. So with my training at the moment, I have got 2 bench press days. On the first day, I'm wearing some sort of supportive equipment and I'm cycling through the levels of supportive equipment that I'm using. So in this training cycle, I've been using this one here, which is the F8 Widowmaker. This is a large, which is actually really, really tight on me, and it's double ply, but in week 1, I fold the layers in like that, and I just use it single ply. Okay, so I had 2 weeks in a row single ply, and then last week I went double ply, and then this week I went in my triple ply bench shirt, okay? And I'm really enjoying that approach at the moment because on the single ply weeks, I'm allowed to work harder with lighter weights because I'm not getting as much support, but also I'm not having to fight the equipment as much. I can work with it a lot more easily. Whereas then when I move into my full-on shirt days where I'm wearing this triple ply shirt, it's a lot more about me working with the equipment and trying to make the shirt work with me rather than trying to fight it. And then when I get to my fully equipped weeks where I've got my bench shirt, I'm finding that I'm having to change my technique and there's just a lot more variables that I have to get right in order to be successful. So at the end of this training block in the single ply, I did a 300 kilo single ply single. Then in my double ply week, I think I hit 300 for 8. And then yesterday in my triple ply shirt, I hit a PR, which was a 900 pound or a 410 kilo single off of a 1.5 inch board on my chest. I think it's a 1.5 inch. It's bigger than a 1 board and smaller than a 2 board. And then on my raw training days, I've got a week A and a week B. Week A, I'm just doing regular bench press, which is usually slightly higher in terms of reps. And then the week B is just a long pause bench press on the chest, either for singles or doubles. The RPE with that, I'm keeping it below about a 7, just because when I work really hard in the bench shirt, my shoulders don't feel great. So I don't want to hammer my shoulders in on my equip day and then push a really heavy RPE with sore shoulders and then carry that soreness over into my more important equip sessions. Now, at the end of each of these sessions, I've usually got one sort of pec movement. So at the moment, that's been an incline Smith machine press on my raw day, and it's been a pec deck on my equip days. I've usually got 1 or 2 tricep movements, 1 or 2 upper back or rear delt movements, or a side raise movement. So pretty straightforward there. Usually I'm hitting on the heavier, more output driven movements. I'm hitting 1 to 2 sets at a high RPE, and then with the lower output movements like the side raises and some of the lighter tricep movements, I'm hitting 3 sets. Outside of that, I've got one squat focused lower body session, which is typically involving a hack squat, leg extension, leg curl, an RDL, some sort of hip adduction and some abs. Then I've got one deadlift focus session where I'm hitting 1 top set and between 2 and 3 back down sets of a sumo pause deadlift without straps. The extra sets is just so I can get used to that movement of deadlifting off the floor without the assistance of straps or bumper plates. Then moving into leg curls, Bulgarian split squats, some 45-degree back extensions, and again, some sort of abs with a bit more focus on driving strength and stability through the front of the hip with the hip flexors. And finally, if I fit this session in, I fit it in. If not, I don't get too beat up about it. I've got an upper back session where I've usually got 1 row that's primarily focused towards the lats, 1 pull down primarily focused towards the lats, 1 row that's going to be a bit more elbows out and trying to drive a little bit more work through my upper back and rhomboids, followed by usually 2 bicep exercises, 1 in a lengthened position and then 1 whatever I'm feeling for the day. And again, 1 to 2 sets, trying to work with high RPEs, trying to drive and gamify that progressive overload each week. In terms of the progressive overload, I don't get too beat up about it if I don't progressively overload everything. Like if you think about it, you could go through the same workout you did last week, and if you progressively overload 2 out of 6 or 7 exercises, that's a win. You've progressively overloaded, right? A lot of people go, from week 1 of their program to week 4 of their program and think they have to progressively overload everything. But if you can do that, that's great. If not, again, don't get yourself too beat up about it because, again, fatigue is compounding. So if you PR every single exercise on every single session of every single week after week, you're going to get to a point where you can't do that anymore. And I think it's just worth noting that you don't need to progressively overload every single exercise every single week. So for me, if I can, on my bench press days in the shirt, that's the main priority. I want to progressively overload that. I'm not too stressed about the pec deck on that day. Then when it comes to my raw day, I am not really focused too much on progressively overloading my raw bench press because then I move straight into my incline Smith machine press and I'm really trying to drive output for that. Same thing with the triceps. I don't care if I PR on a single arm tricep push down, but if I can increase the weight of my JM presses or my dumbbell skull crushers or dips or something like that, then that's a win. Again, 1 to 2 exercises, as long as I'm progressively overloading something each week, then I'm happy. Now, with my current PED use, I don't like to talk about specifics for a number of reasons, but namely because I don't want my cycle to impact what other people take, because my cycle I've put together for me in consultation with other professionals in the industry. Now, in terms of my current PED use, I'm currently taking a total of 600 milligrams per week of AAS, which is split between testosterone, masteron, and primobolan. So just testosterone and then 2 DHT derivatives. For me, I find that I can take these compounds at these dosages for a very extended period of time without noticing any negative side effects with my mental health, with my physical health, with the numbers that come back on my blood work that I get regularly. So for me, I find that's a pretty good sweet spot to sit at. My body weight's driving up, my strength is increasing, my appetite is fine. So that's all I'm really focused on in terms of that. I'm also taking 4 IU a day of the good stuff, and I'm taking 6 IU per session of Nova Rapid, just because I find that it helps my recovery more than I care to admit. I don't think it makes you significantly more jacked or anything like that, but for me, I'm pretty unfit in terms of I've only been training really consistently for this year. And whilst I build up that fitness and whilst I start to drive more output in the gym, I find that taking that Nova Rapid before my training sessions, along with about 80 milligrams of carbohydrates through way of cluster dextrin, it's just a really overpriced carbohydrate powder. But for me, that works really well. I've never had any issues going hypo when I do 6 IU with 80 grams intra-workout. In addition to that, my pre-workout meal has got about 100 grams, and then my post-workout meal has got another 100 grams. So, I'm just using that Nova Rapid to shuttle as much nutrient into the tissue as I can, And whether it be, you know, scientifically backed up or anecdotal, I just feel like it helps me recover better. Now, in terms of my nutrition, I started the year sitting at about 106 kilos, pretty doughy physique, if I'm being honest. And I dieted down for probably 2 months, and I got my body weight pretty well under 100 kilos, like just under 100 kilos. And since then, I've just been trying to build up my calories and increase my body weight. So in the last, I guess, 3 months, I've gone from that just under 100 kilos to about 110 in the mornings. And I don't think I'm noticeably that much fatter. If I do put on a little bit of body fat, that's totally fine. I'm kind of anticipating it at this point. But for me right now, to support my goals, I need to put on more contractile tissue through my triceps, my shoulders, my back, my pecs, all that sort of stuff. In addition to that, I would like to have bigger legs because I've always had kind of small legs for a powerlifter. But also, in order to fill out this monster of a bench shirt, I need to be a little bit bigger. Now, when I benched my 385 PR at the end of last year, not the end of, around August last year, my body weight was sitting about 107 kilos, and you know, I did 400 off of a board, and it was a true 10 RPE, whereas me just being a little bit heavier, only having 2 sessions of experience back in this shirt this year, being a little bit heavier made the 410 the other day feel like a RPE 8. Again, not to say that I could have hit it for reps, but it just felt like there was a good amount more left in the tank after the set. So again, being a little bit heavier is just helping me fill out the shirt. So at the moment, that's what I'm trying to do. But again, there is going to be a point of diminishing return. If I get my body weight up to, you know, 120 kilos, and if I can put 2 inches on my arms, that might make it a little bit too hard for me to use this shirt. And look, these shirts aren't cheap. This shirt is a custom. It cost me about $1,000. And for those of you who don't know, Rob Farrell makes these shirts, I'm pretty sure by hand. Like, I've seen all the videos of him on the sewing machine. And again, for those of you who don't know Rob, he owns F8 Customs. He designed these shirts. He's essentially like the pioneer of these unlimited shirts. I could be wrong, but fact check me. He benched 1,000 pounds at 100 kilos body weight, which is honestly for me mind blowing. Like, he's a jack dude, but he doesn't look like most 1,000-pound bench presses. He's, you know, a good 30 kilos lighter than them, which is super impressive. But yeah, these shirts are not cheap, nor should they be. You know, they're especially the custom shirts. This was made for me. I sent all my measurements through with the help of my mate Leroy from Queensland. He helped me with the whole process to make sure that all the sizing was right. I sent all the measurements off and I got this shirt. So I don't want to get too heavy that this shirt becomes essentially unusable for me, but I need to be heavy enough so that I can fill out the shirt and get the most out of it. One question I get asked a lot is, why equipped? Like, why equipped powerlifting and not raw powerlifting? Raw powerlifting seems to be way more popular, and you know, I get it. Equipped powerlifting looks a little bit goofy. You have to wear a squat suit and a funny bench shirt, and you need your buddies to help you get into your equipment. Your sessions take a bit longer, and you know, a lot of people say like, oh, why not raw powerlifting? Because it's a true test of strength. And for me, like, honestly, if you really want it to be a true test of strength, and I guess this one kind of goes out to the people out there talking about, you know, bench depth being standardized, or, you know, the sumo deadlifts being an unfair advantage, or whatever. Like, if you really want it to be a true test of strength, let's just ditch all the equipment. Let's just ditch the wrist straps. We'll ditch the belts. We'll ditch we'll even ditch the underwear. We'll ditch the chalk. We'll ditch the soft suits. We'll ditch the shoes. Let's just take angle grinders to all the barbells, take off all the knurling so that they're completely smooth, right? Pick up a completely smooth bar with no assistive equipment, right? No wrist straps, no belts, no nothing. Like, you want it to be a true test of strength, fuck off and do strongman. Powerlifting is a sport, and if you don't like the rules of it, rather than putting up fucking 2 out of 10 rage bait, talking about how you think the rules should be different, fuck off to strongman and go get beat there, right? Powerlifting is a sport. It's got a set of rules. There are a number of different federations with slightly different rules. Find a rule set that works for you and just compete there. Now, for me, with that in mind, I look at powerlifting as a sport where the goal is to lift as much weight as humanly possible within that rule set. And the equipped category allows people to lift the most weight. And personally, I find that to be really cool. Like, can I do it raw? Of course not. No one can. Like, you know, the heaviest bench presser in the world is Jimmy Kolb. He's benched 1,400 pounds in a shirt. He's chasing down 1,500 pounds, which I'm pretty sure is like 680 kilos. No one can do anything with that raw, ever. No one will ever squat that raw. No one will ever deadlift that raw. But it's still fucking cool to watch, right? So for me, I'm very goal driven, like a lot of people are. Like, I notice actually the best results that my clients have come from the people who can just work hard and follow the plan without a goal. But that's not me. I like chasing shiny new things, okay? And for me, the shiny new thing that I'm chasing right now, like I said, 900 pounds and then 1,000 pounds. You know, I want to make it into Rob's 1,000-pound bench club. I get that not many people out there probably care about it, but for me, I think that's really cool. That's the shiny new thing, and I'm going to do that until it's done, or until, you know, I break, which hopefully that doesn't happen. But being very goal oriented, as soon as I've got a goal locked in, it allows me to just hone in and focus and do the things that I probably should be doing anyway, but just having that goal set in place, and even putting videos out like this where I'm publicly putting out there, this is what I'm going for, it kind of takes out that room to be fucking lazy, you know? So for me, that's why I quit, because I want to lift more weight. I like the thought of benching 1,000 pounds. And that's all there is to it, because at the end of the day, my goals are my goals. You know, there are some people that do fucking high rocks races and they want to do it in under an hour and a half or under an hour, and that's great. Like, no shade, not throwing any shade. Like, those goals are for those people. My goals are for me, your goals are for you. You know, I have so many people come to me and they want to squat 300 kilos, right? And I've trained at gyms where we've had, like, you know, 10 300 kilo squatters. That doesn't mean that goal's shit. You know what I mean? Like, that goal's good. Just like I've had people come in and, you know, they really want to deadlift 100 kilos. Like, I know a lot of women and men that really just want to do one pull-up or one chin-up, you know. I've worked in gyms doing group fitness classes where I've had like 60-year-old women, and, you know, they've had utter joy in their face when they've jumped onto a box or a plate that's literally like 3 inches off the ground, because they don't remember the last time they jumped, right? So people might not like equip lifting, they might not get it, and that's fine, because you don't have to do it. I'm doing it because I want to do it, because I enjoy it, and for me, it's a goal that keeps me in the gym consistently, right? So I know I have to go in for my bench sessions, but, you know, and this is another reason why I love powerlifting gyms, because they're really easy to make friends at. I think a lot of people that don't go to powerlifting gyms probably think that it's a bunch of, you know, big, heavily tattooed meatheads walking around like grunting and headbutting walls, but in reality, they're just usually, that makes up a pretty small portion of the gym anyway, but those people are usually really nice to begin with. But everyone's usually super friendly. And so if I go to the gym twice a week to do my bench sessions that I have to do to achieve my goal, you know, the more you can integrate yourself into the community, the easier it is to get there for the sessions that you might not be as excited about. Like, some sessions I don't want to hack squat, because, you know, my knee hurts and I have to be really hesitant with my movements, and some deadlift sessions I'm really hesitant about going in because of my pre-existing back injury, you know. But just because I go to the gym more frequently, because I've got this goal where I have to go in and bench press, I make myself go in and do those sessions. Even if they're not amazing sessions, I'm still going in and doing them. So, you know, I don't know who needs to hear this, but don't let someone else's comments about your goals deter you from your goals, right? Have your goals. If you don't know what your goals are, talk to somebody who knows about this stuff. Talk to a coach, talk to a friend who goes to the gym a lot, and let them know what you enjoy doing. Let them know where you're at currently, and they can help you set some goals. Set some goals that are, you know, actually achievable, so that once you tick them off, that kind of just leads the way for the next one, you know? Once you set a goal and achieve that goal, that's kind of like the first domino, and then you can kind of just keep that momentum going, right? So if anyone that's made it this far, I appreciate you a lot, because honestly, this is not a video where I'm really providing a lot of value. It's kind of a self-absorbed conversation, but, you know, hopefully me just rambling on helps somebody out there. And again, for anyone supporting me, I really appreciate you guys' support, and I'll keep you posted on the rest of my journey to a 900 pound bench press and hopefully beyond.